So guys, before I get started completely, I just want to hands up. How many of you guys know where Harpers Ferry is? Anybody? Okay. So a lot of people, especially when you live in the southern part of West Virginia, you kind of forget about the eastern panhandle, which touches Maryland and Virginia. You'll meet a lot of West Virginia residents who actually don't know where Harpers Ferry is. But if you look at the slide I have up, we're that very, very far right-hand tip of West Virginia that touches Maryland and Virginia. So we're another tri-state area like southern West Virginia is in Huntington or the northern panhandle, or where you're closer to Wheeling, West Virginia. But we are the part of West Virginia that touches Maryland and Virginia. And the reason why I need to point that out is because right on that tip of West Virginia, we're considered the eastern gateway for tourism into West Virginia. And that's important because when you talk about why our business is successful, it comes not just from the things that we do, but it's our accessibility to the amount of guests we have as well. So if you were to take the two counties from Maryland that touch West Virginia, two counties from Virginia that touch West Virginia, and you take Washington, D.C., that actually has a population that doubles the state of West Virginia. So just those three areas have almost 3 million people living in it. Actually, almost 4 million people living in it, as opposed to West Virginia, where I think we're a little over 1.5 million. So that gives us great accessibility to guests and a great accessibility to a lot of people who live inside of a more city environment, who want to get out of the city on the weekends and come and see us and do things with River Riders. So as we just move along, just a little about River Riders. We started in 1972 in Harpers Ferry as a whitewater rafting company. So back in the early 70s, which is a long time ago for you guys, but not that long ago for me, it was a time where whitewater rafting grew across the whole country, but West Virginia was one of the fastest growing places in the country because we have a lot of really great rivers in West Virginia. We have the Shenandoah and Harpers Ferry. And if you guys live near Beckley or close to Beckley, you probably know about the New and the Gauley rivers. And it's a very viable business for the whole state of West Virginia. And it draws a lot of tourism into Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, because a lot of people come here to see us, then go to see Harpers Ferry afterwards. So in West Virginia, for example, you're looking at 200,000 to 250,000 rafters that come into the state annually. And one thing a lot of the outfitters learned a long time ago was, how do we get more of them? How do we get them to stay longer? How do we get them to get away from just coming in for a half a day and then leaving? And how do we get more of their money as well? Because we are a seasonal business and we have to do everything inside of 3 months, June, July, and August. It has to happen then, and it has to set us up for the other 9 months of the year. So River Riders started in 1972 as a whitewater rafting company. We've grown substantially since then. During the summertime, we're one of the largest employers in Jefferson County. On a Saturday, we can employ 250 people. The cool thing is, of that 250 people, the largest percentage are high school students and college students. So we get a lot of local kids from Jefferson High School, Martinsburg High School, Washington High School, Spring Mills. We have a lot of, even my daughter works here during the summertime and goes to Spring Mills. So we get a lot of you guys into our work environment during the summertime. And they're the greatest employees of all because we can shape and mold them into what we need them to be. And you get them for several years. You know, if you get somebody who's dedicated and somebody who really loves working with the guests and doing the things that we do here, we'll have you for 6 to 7 years before we cut you loose into what we call real jobs. Okay. So we offer a multitude of activities: whitewater rafting, zip lining, our adventure park. We do bike rentals, we do kayak rentals. We also do lodging. We have a hotel next to us that we own, who's part of our family of companies. We own 5 Airbnb homes that stay rented 75 to 80% of the whole year. And we have a campground where we can put several hundred people into a campground along the Potomac River as well. And that was one thing that the owner discovered 20 years ago. People were coming here, but didn't have an option, didn't have a place to stay. So he wanted to create his own realm of Harpers Ferry where they could come here and do all the activities and stay with us as well. And then we call that dwell time. That's how much of the guest time can we get while they're here. So, and I do want to say, guys, no matter where the tourist goes in West Virginia for rafting, they're not just spending money on rafting. It's very important to the state of West Virginia. They buy gas, they buy food, they get hotel rooms, they pay speeding tickets. So they're contributing to the local economy immensely while they're here. So whitewater rafting is how River Riders started. You guys can see some exciting pictures there from a couple rapids we call Bull Falls and Whitehorse. We do class 2 to class 3 whitewater, and the Shenandoah is unique because it's probably one of the best entry-level rafting rivers in the whole country. It's where beginners can come and feel confident that they're not in a Red Bull commercial where it looks like they're going to be drowning when they fall out of the raft. A lot of times when our guests fall out, we just say, dust yourself off and get back inside. So, but it is an exciting trip for people because once again, you're talking about our guests are coming from the city. They see concrete, pavement, poles, and people, and a lot of it. And so when they come out to see us, they get to see the rapids, they get to see the wilderness, they get to see a lot less people in a bigger area. And one of the greatest things that we tell people on the raft trip when we get to a certain point is, like, listen, can you hear cars? No, you can't. And that's what's awesome. Can you hear a cell phone ringing? No, you cannot. So you actually get a time to turn all that off and enjoy the environment around you. The raft trips here about 4.5 miles long. They can take up to 4 hours. It depends on the water level. Another really good thing about rafting on the Shenandoah River is when you go by Harpers Ferry, there is a ton of Civil War history that we can share with our guests as well. And they get a good look into the story of John Brown. They get a good look into the story of Harpers Ferry during the Civil War, which changed sides multiple times during the Civil War. And also there's a lot of historical factory tidbits that we can share with people, because Harpers Ferry was a center for businesses in that time period, pre-Civil War, where a lot of goods were manufactured in Harpers Ferry using the power of the river to power the mills. So we also do zip lining and aerial adventure park. And if the zip line is amazing, we have 8 zips that vary in lengths from 200 to 1,000 feet. Last year, we added a 1,000-foot zip in which you step off of a 30-foot tower over the Potomac River and you zip to the ground from there. Depending on how much you weigh, if you weigh up in my range, you can get up to 30 to 35 miles an hour before you come into the landing. And we added in a camera system so we can get a picture of those faces as you come in as well. So, and of course, being a business, we sell those pictures. That's the whole idea, to take advantage of that short bit of time you have people and to make as much money as you can to keep you going all year long. But the zip line is, it's a great activity for our guests. They want to be on the water for half the day. They can hang from a tree for the other half of the day. Just imagine for 3 hours or for 2 hours, your feet do not touch the ground. Once you climb up onto the first tower or you walk across the bridge, you actually do not touch the ground until you land from that river zip coming in. So without being on a plane, you probably won't spend too much time like that where your feet aren't actually on the ground in some form. We also have the adventure park. So right behind River Riders, built into a forest we have with a bunch of just beautiful, stunning, tall ash and walnut trees, walnut trees, ash trees. We actually have an aerial adventure park built. And it's kind of like a confidence obstacle course built into the trees that vary in different types of difficulty. We have a little one for kids that we call Chicken Little, which kids as young as 5-year-olds can climb around Chicken Little and have a good time. And their parents can kind of walk along with them while they do zip lines as well. And it's actually got a 250-pound capacity at Chicken Little, so we can put adults in there if we need to start them there as well. And believe me, it does happen. We have to put a few adults in there because they're just not ready for that whole walking up into a tree 20 feet off the ground and then going across the obstacles. One of the greatest things about the adventure park is one spot where you walk off of a platform, you're over 25 feet in the air, and you just free fall for the first 15 feet. And then the line catches you and lowers you slowly to the ground. So the adventure park, all the rafting and all the zip lining have guides on every single trip. The adventure park doesn't have a guide. You have what we call ground monitors, and they sit on the ground and they coach you along and they talk you into jumping off that platform. They talk you into taking a step onto a tightrope that you don't think you're ready for, or the skateboard going across the board like you guys saw on the video. So the adventure park is a lot of fun. And we do have the Mega Zip. And the Mega Zip, if you saw the video, you saw the people flying Superman style with their hands out in front of you. So that's over 1,000-foot zip up to speeds 40 miles per hour. And you are strapped in like Superman, and we cut you loose and they're side by side. You can race your buddy down. The hint is you want to eat a bigger lunch. That's how you eat your butt. You beat your buddy. Okay. You got to weigh just a few more pounds than they do, and you'll get there first. And then we have a speed gun at the bottom that clocks you when you come in, so we can tell you how fast you were going. And then we also, once again, we put a camera there so we can get pictures of that face as you come in, and so we can embarrass you in front of all of your friends and share what you look like when you were coming in at 30 miles an hour from 1,000 feet away. So then the other two activities, which are very, very exciting, but they're not our biggest activities. Our biggest activity is actually tubing, floating down the river in an inflatable tube. Flat water and whitewater tubing are two activities that we do. Flat water is by far the biggest activity. It dwarfs everything we do. And that's people coming from, once again, from those environments, Northern Virginia, suburban Maryland, Washington, D.C., and they literally just want to float down a tube in the river, hang out with their friends, relax, and they can do it on the flat water. They can do it over and over again. They can actually, once we pick you up, we can take you back to start and drop you in again. And what gets to be a pretty big activity, if you guys have ever eaten the Skittles candy before, all the colors you have in there, it looks like somebody spilled a bag of Skittles in the river because every outfitter has a different colored tube. So the river's covered in all these different colored tubes the whole way. But the greatest thing is, and one thing that we think is very important is, are they smiling? Okay, that is something we ask ourselves all the time. Look at the photos. Are the guests smiling? If they're smiling, we're doing our job properly. So the flat water tubing and the whitewater tubing, by far, are two of the most popular activities. Nowhere near as exciting as jumping from a tree or going down a waterfall, but it's what most people want to do. And it has the longest age range because you can float down as a small child, you can float down as an older adult, and you can, in some cases, it costs a little more, but you can bring your dog, and lots of people bring their dogs. A lot of people do not want to leave home without their dog. So you will occasionally see a tube going down the river with a golden retriever hanging out of it, who he's not drinking anything, but he's just sitting back and having a good time. That makes his mom and dad happy as well. So if we can make his mom and dad happy, then we did our job. Is the dog smiling? If the dog is smiling, we're good to go. So career opportunities, I mentioned that a little bit in the beginning. 250 may not sound like a big number to you guys, just depends on what your perspective of numbers is. But in Jefferson County, outside of larger factories that we have around here, or a Walmart or an Amazon distribution center, we are one of the biggest employers during the summertime. And we get to offer people a job that's outside. Your office is not a cubicle with a computer screen. Your office is outside. Now, we do have people who work on sales crew who are behind a computer, but it's not just a cubicle environment. Okay, we actually have people who they cross train a lot. They work in sales one day, they'll work in Zip the next day, there'll be support staff the next day. But we cannot be successful without all the employees and all the different departments that we have. Whitewater Raft Guide, you have to be 18 for this for the state of West Virginia, but we do all the training ourselves. We do the CPR and first aid training. We teach you how to be a guide. We teach you how to get a raft down the river. We teach you how to engage your guests. And one of the greatest things about being a raft guide or even a zip guide is you get at least 2 trips a day, and every single day you meet anywhere from 6 to 12 new people you've never met in your whole life, people you don't have any connection with. And that actually is what a lot of our guides love. I love it personally too, because you get to meet people from all over the world, different walks, different shapes, different types of people, and you get to learn about them, and they get to learn about you. And you spend 3 hours with them, and by the end of the trip, you'd be amazed that, you know, it's not just about the positive reviews that you get afterwards or the big tip that they'll give the guide afterwards. You'd be amazed at how sometimes these people stay connected with the guides year after year after year. They'll come back and see that same guide every single year. They will become, you know, friends on Facebook and social media, and they'll follow each other because this person impacted them. For that 3 hours you had with them, you taught them a lot. You made them feel safe. You made them feel at home, and you made them, once again, what's important, you made them smile the whole time. Zipline Adventure Park monitors, it's the same thing. Just like the whitewater rafting guides, you cannot do a zip line without a guide. You have to have somebody in the front who catches you and somebody in the back who sends you. And it's the same thing with rafting. It's about an hour less each trip, but you still get to meet these people. And people love their guides because not even people from inside their family can get them to step off of a tower on the line and just go flying towards another tower through the trees. And the guides give a lot of people confidence, and they make people feel safe, and that's what's important. They know that the guide has taught them properly. They can do what they need to do to have a great trip and a safe trip. Drivers, we cannot do our trips without moving our people around. And during the summertime, we get a lot of your county school bus drivers. They come to work for us during the summertime because once they're done for once the school year ends, they actually there's no trips for them to drive, no routes for them to drive. So they'll come drive for us in the summertime. They don't get the nicer, fancier buses that they do when they drive students. We tend to buy older buses, then paint them a bunch of different colors. We have pink buses, we have green buses, blue buses. We want people to see us when we're driving around. But they do get to move our guests around. And on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday all day, they'll move 3,000 people in a day. And a lot of that happens between 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock. That's where the bulk of it happens. They'll move 2,000 people in that time period, if not more. And so drivers are a very important part of the business. And then the local schools, you guys would know this, you're a little further away, but we do a lot of the extracurricular activities for local schools as well. So you'll see River Riders buses maybe show up at Capitol High with the basketball team from Jefferson High School. We also have another bus company that's part of us called Varsity, those are actually your tour buses. And so we do a lot of extracurricular activities for Berkeley and Jefferson County to help move students around when a regular route driver can't make time to do it. Support staff, June through August, we employ up to 30 high school students who they just help the guest. They give out tubes, they give out PFDs, which is a life jacket. It's a fancy word for a life jacket, personal flotation device. They take the PFDs back, they wash the PFDs, but they get a full 40 hours a week, and they are a very important part of the company. They do engage the guest on the front line. So the support staff's a very important part of the business, and it's always fun to have them around because they're the lively part. The support staff are the ones that teach us the TikTok dances, I'll be honest. So they're the ones that actually, get us, they keep us up to date on social media because us old guys are looking at Facebook and they're looking at TikTok and Snapchat. So they keep us in line a little bit. So we have a lodging staff. Like I said, we have a campground, 5 Airbnb homes, and it requires a lodging staff to clean all those houses. A lot of times we're going through what's called the flip. So on a Saturday, we can flip 5 houses, which means that the guests check out 11 and all 5 houses check back in at 3 o'clock. So we have to have a cleaning staff for each house. You have to clean hot tubs, you have to wash all the linens, make sure the dishes are done, make sure the house is clean. So that's a full-time job as well. And it's nice to have the hotel next door because we can borrow their staff when it's necessary. And then we have maintenance. Very important part of the business. They keep all the broken stuff fixed and they keep things moving. People break things in houses and they fix it for us. So we have a group of people who are skilled in carpentry, electricians or plumbing, or just general guys who can do anything we need to do, change a tire, put a new outlet in, fix a hot tub. And then most importantly, that same group of people are raft guides and zip guides. So on a Saturday, if they don't have to fix anything, we'll put them on the river. We'll put them in the air. We'll give them something to do. And that's a big key here, especially all of these categories have a manager. And those managers all have year-round employment. We do not let the managers go during the summertime. Our goal is to keep employed all year long. And you have to be cross-trained. Our managers can drive a bus. They can guide a raft. They can do a zip trip. They can clean a house. There's a lot, they can do a bunch of different things. And that's what makes us work as a team. And that's what makes us so successful is, hey, this guy is not here. Do we have somebody else to do it? Of course we do. We got a ton of people that can do that job. All we do is get one of the managers or we cross-train people where they're comfortable and we move them around and it keeps our guests smiling, which is really, really important. So Olivia, hopefully I'm not going too fast. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just moving really, really fast. So.
No, this is perfect.
Cool.
And I think that's what I was about to ask. Any questions? Let's start with St. Albans High School. Do you have any questions for Harry?
Don't be shy.
Nope. They look kind of they look like they might be frozen. St. Albans, are y'all?
They're okay. I can see them.
You kind of cut out for a minute, but we're not. I mean, I don't know if we're frozen on your screen, but you did kind of cut out for a minute.